Good afternoon, and welcome to the evening devotional that I'm going to do tonight here at Indian Springs State Park. And today has been the second full day of camp meeting at Indian Springs Holiness Camp Meeting. And we started the morning with something that was cool, and it was a almost 5K, so it wasn't quite 3 miles. It was 2.95 miles, and Elijah, my oldest son, decided to join that this year. He decided to run in it, even though he really hasn't trained. He hasn't ever run a 5K except for one other time back at Oakdale. And he decided just to jump in and do it last night. And so this morning we got up and took him down, and he finished 9th out of 200 people, which was pretty amazing, we thought, considering, like I said, he's never trained, and he was racing against people that were, have run on their school's team and do this, for fun on the weekends. But I asked him, how do you go running against 200 people and have never really trained to winning 9th overall, which was a pretty cool feat. And he said focus, and, focusing on the task at hand and the goal, which, was the finish line. And so that made me think, of course, of some of the obvious verses, which Hebrews 12:1-3 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart." And just running with perseverance, again, not running, anything like this before, focusing, having our eyes set on the prize. And then there's 1 Corinthians 9:23 through 25. "Now this I do for the gospel's sake, that I may be a partaker of it with you. Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receives a prize? Run in such a way that you may obtain it. For everyone competes for the prize, and it is temperate in all things. Now they do it and obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown." So again, we're focusing on the finish line. We are running in such a way as to receive a prize, and that's kind of our goal, is to receive that prize. And for us, we know what that prize is, right? It's imperishable. It's an imperishable crown. It's when we get to heaven, when we cross over from this life to the next. That is our prize. That is the thing that we're running towards and trying to obtain. So it's pretty cool, again, that we focus on those things that are our prize. For Elijah, it was finishing, at the finish line. Even though he took a couple of minutes of relaxing during his run, he said there were a couple of minutes where he was actually walking instead of running. I think his time was 23 minutes and 28 seconds. The first place runner was 19 minutes and 50 some seconds. So he did very good. And again, we talked afterwards just about how was it that you were able to push through? And he said, again, like I said, when he focused on the prize, when he put everything else aside, all of the hindrances, all of the thoughts of everything else, he was able to push on. When the pain was coming, he physically, his legs were getting tired and sore and heavy. The lactic acid buildup down there, and he was getting lightheaded at times, he said, and just felt like he was going to pass out. But he pushed on because he focused on the end prize. And that's what we have to do as Christians. We have to push on. We have to push forward. We have to go beyond what we naturally and normally would do to persevere. And the last one, this is not one that I typically would think of as running a race, but it was kind of the verse of the day this morning for me, and it said, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run to it and are safe." And that's Proverbs 18:10. And again, it's not about racing necessarily, but it had the word run in it. And of course, that wasn't planned by me at all. It just God put that in there this morning. And the name of the Lord is a strong tower, and the righteous run to it, and they are safe. And isn't that awesome that we have a fortress, that we have a God, a name that is strong, that we can run to in times of trouble, in times of trial and temptation and hardship, and when the enemy's pressing in on us, we can run to that name, and we are safe. It's a safe, firm foundation for us, and we are to run to it. We don't walk to it. Think of if an enemy was behind you, coming after you, or a bunch of wolves were chasing after you. You wouldn't walk to a safe place. You would run. And that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to run to him and seek his shelter and his safety. That's the kind of fortress that God is for us. And so as we end this evening and the sun's about ready to set, and we're out here on the lake, and Elijah or Josiah and the other boys were doing some fishing and running around and playing, and as I reflect on the day and reflect on how the day started with running, there's no safer place to be than in the presence of God. There's no safer place to be than in his fortress. And we should never leave that. And sometimes we venture outside of that from time to time, but we know that we have a place to run to for safety. And so that's what I encourage you tonight. Just run to that safety if you haven't. If you're feeling bombarded by everything around you, run to that safety, that fortress who is God, and allow him and his Spirit to give you peace tonight. If you're in that fortress already, then stay there. Don't leave. Don't leave God. Don't leave. Don't leave the presence of God, and then you won't have to worry about running to it because you'll already be in it at all times. So God bless you and have a good night.